Aren't you concerned about, like, because now you're coming to introduce or just like show people to appreciate more of the local foods,
Yeah,
right? And we already have these companies and restaurants that have already spent a lot of money
I've
with their
heard they're here.
campaigns, that you see burgers on billboards, you see burgers on, like, Instagram everywhere. It's just food, pizza burger, and all these other foods. Aren't you concerned about, like, how they're gonna take this? Because they're like, yo, now you're pushing and what we've taken, like, we've spent a lot of money on and years to try and make people start enjoying
Well,
and kind of
no.
addicted to some
Yeah,
other
but
people.
yeah, but not even, not even slightly. They are, it is a big thing, and it's a big industry that revolves around
Yeah.
revolves around also glorifying fast foods and
Yeah.
and other types of food. But no, actually, I'm not scared of it at all. I think that a good, like, a culinary system, or in any city should be able to support all those things,
Yeah.
but it should also be fueling the locality based. Say, okay, we don't need McDonald's to change their menus. That's fine, but let's then make sure that when you go home, you buy local produce, for that. And if you pressure, a thing like McDonald's to some extent utilize local produce, they're not going to spend all their money importing all the things. They're going to try
Yeah.
to get it.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a little harder, but I think that the food scene in total can support both things. I don't see the real fast food change as somebody that's a worry. I see that if you change consumerism, like if we can prove that the sexiest thing on Instagram is local cuisine,
Local food.
and if you get 2 million likes on that, I bet you that there'll be scouts from every big hotel looking at that trend,
Yeah, like,
and they'll change their menus and consistency, which will also have the other rings, because then you won't be pulling in tons and tons of chefs like me to come up with African recipes. If
Yeah.
that's the new thing,
Yeah.
you'll employ more African people to do those
And
recipes.
most head chefs now can actually, because I'm just assuming if we have all those international dishes and stuff,
Yeah.
we'll always have like a foreign kind of
There's-
almost.
I mean, there's
head
there,
chef.
there is definitely an
The
offset.
ratio
Yeah,
is-
there is. I mean,
yeah.
the ratio, but that's also true in many other countries.
Yeah.
But of course, the ratio of it only being fuel, and a French restaurant will have a guy on who knows French cooking.
Definitely. Definitely.
And instead of teaching, it's also a bit difficult to say, okay, but then we spent 10 years on two chefs from Nairobi to make them as good as the guy we can just go and buy.
Yeah.
So of course, if you're putting
And
on a
it's
French
much
restaurant,
easier-
it's
it's
much
much
easier
easier
just
for
to
them-
bring him in.
Bring somebody from France. And,
But that means that won't stop. So
Yeah.
if the jobs that are being created are only for let's say French, Italian, Chinese cooking, let's say not indigenous cooking. That's a fair way to say it.
Yeah.
That creates this circle that's not supposed to be there as total, because then the culinary schools will then have to say, okay, if the jobs that are available are only at the hotels, then of course they're not stupid, so they'll have to create a schooling system that can teach you the skills you need to get that job. And if the jobs are only in the hotels, the teachings you're going to be doing in culinary schools is going to be recipes for hotels, of course. But that also means that not only is the new people who have been trained and coming out to the market as the newly chefs only using recipes and produce that is not indigenous, but they're also just fueling that segment, so it's not going to be going around. So you'll just end up with loads and loads of people only cooking with non-indigenous produce, doing recipes that have never been near the continent, and of course that needs to be there, but it should not be the only thing. You should be able to push that envelope and get more locality-based flavors into it, and also make sure that it's good enough, and tell everybody that it's good enough.
True.
But that takes skills, and it takes knowledge and
Time.
and time. But most importantly, it takes the availability of that knowledge.
But
And-
how are you gonna push this? Cause I'm just trying to think, because like I said even earlier, it sounds good in theory,
Yeah.
but who are like some of the voices that you're gonna use to actually
Again,
push this? Because
Again,
you know,
it's-
like
it
now
shouldn't
it's all social media as well.
yeah.
That's
But-
where everybody's advertising. And how do we make this trendy? Is it gonna be
Well,
through just
no, we should-
recipe, styling, or how? I mean,
No, but I mean, recipe and styling is one thing. I mean, we're going to push to show that it's possible, but we're also just going to give an abundance of support to every chef and every restaurant in this immense country to start fueling it. You know, everything on Instagram, all you guys out there, you should just be taking photos of your mama's kitchen and then go and make new recipes of it.
make
That
your
should
mom
be
happy
it.
as well.
Yes.
I mean,
and also make her scared, because as soon as you start flipping around with ugali and doing it in the wrong way, she's going to get upset.
oh yeah,
Uh,
oh yeah.
No, but it should be fueled that way.
Yeah.
Again, it makes no sense for us to be just, you know, a group of, you know, Danish chefs coming in and yelling and screaming about locality. That makes no sense.
Still,
what
it
we
might still work strangely
Yeah,
in Kenya, I know, but
No, but not just
but
in
I know
Kenya.
the angle you're coming with. You don't want it to be that. You
I want
to,
I want to stand on a field and put my arm around every chef that needs my help, and I'll support every idea he has, and I'll lend him all my knowledge, and I'll make it available as cheap as I possibly can, because that's another thing. If you look at other courses and other ways of doing it, it always ends up being for a small margin.
yeah,
You can't really make that available.
yeah.
But then you're not going to change anything. I mean, let's look at it in a completely another way and say, okay, how cheaply can we produce content that can be positively fueling? Can we create recipes? Can we do a co-op where everybody starts to share your recipes? And that's why we came up with Nomi. Right now on Instagram, we've just opened up for Buy Nomi, which is the hashtag or the site where
I'll
you can
make
go
sure
and
I
see
put
some
the
of the
link down below. I'll
yeah,
make
you
sure
can
people
come and
just-
see. You can come and see some of the things that we're doing, and you know, really taking it way away from what the traditional cooking looks like.
I've seen some samples, and I can just definitely tell you, like, if I was to
You're
take
still
you,
weird about that ugali ice cream.
no, wait, even forget the ugali ice cream. Like, if I was to take somebody right now, just think about it. If I'm taking you on a beef ugali date, or even if it's a meeting, or if I'm taking somebody out on a date, just picture what it is, and then after you picture what it is, just go on the podcast link on the info, tag Nomi, or just click on the link for Nomi, and go to their page and see the beef ugali, see the presentation, and just see how crazy it will blow your mind. And you can only imagine the experience of having that. I would take thousands of pictures of that.
Yeah, but I mean, we're only doing that to just showcase that it's possible. It's just
possible.
we're just trying to fuel that little spark. I mean, I'm
Can
hoping
make African food sexy.
make African food sexy again, but most importantly, just create that little spark. I mean,